Well, Muffin, here's my first stop in Cairns. It's inside the hotel room. Extremely plush, but not too bad. And just had to show you this toilet here with there's the flusher. Oh, flusher right there on top. And anyway, get back later. I have adjusted the time. It is really 9:32 p.m. Local time here in Cairns. It is 5:33 in the morning at home. So, see you later, huh? Bye for now.
There is actually some 20-odd thousand people living north of Cairns in what we call our northern residential beach suburbs, but as you travel north you'd never realise that, simply because from the road here it's very hard to spot where all the... Now, one of the rather unfortunate facts of life of tropical Australia is that if you value your life, you do not go swimming in the sea between November and May each year. So of course that's this time of the year. The reason you don't go swimming in the sea is because our coastal waters do get infested by some very nasty jellyfish, known commonly as box jellyfish because of their rather cuboid shape. The proper name of these things is Chironex fleckeri. Now they can kill you, so obviously if you've got any value at all on your life, well, you stay out of the water. Luckily for us, you can still go out to the islands and out to the reef and apparently swim in safety out there. Just as well, I suppose, otherwise nobody would come and visit us at all this time of the year, would they? Streams are going to breed and die. Now, you can, lycra. The simplest and cheapest way to protect yourself and still feel very free to move is to wear ladies' pantyhose. You know, ladies' tights. Now, you all know, of course, that particular garment is designed to cover the bottom half of your body from your waist to the tip of your toes. So you're most probably wondering how on earth you use the same garment to cover the upper half of the body too. Well, it's really quite simple. What you do is, you get two pairs, and you put one pair on as normal. You then get hold of the second pair, you put a hole in the crotch, stick your head through the hole, put your arms down the legs, and wear them upside down, see? So there you are. Apart from your head, you're covered from top to toe. I don't know too many human beings who can swim around with their head underwater for too long, so you're pretty well protected. But of course, if you want to let your mind way up there in the distance, you can see some big mountains up there with a bit of cloud around the top of them. That's where we're going, actually. And in fact, the tallest of those mountains you can see from here is Thornton's Peak. It's just north of the Daintree River. It's also the third highest mountain in Queensland at 1,360 metres, 4,500 feet. But also, if you looked up there to a point at the base of Thornton's Peak from here, that's also where the northern end of Trinity Bay is. Looking across the bay here, you can see the next headland across there close to us has lots of light coloured bare rock down to the water's edge. On the charts, that particular point of land does appear as white cliffs. Off Cairns. Incredibly calm the sea today, isn't it? Mainly because we've got this offshore wind coming round through the windscreen now. You've got to look. Yeah. see them way out there in front. The Low Isles are a couple of coral islands just off Port Douglas.
Oh, deep in. Ja, van helemaal. Getting ready to cross the Daintree River on a cable ferry. That's a four-wheel drive, multi-purpose people. The bridge is coming up, and we're crossing the river. Say this river has a lot of crocodiles in it.
Rain up here, very, very unusual, but a lot of the creeks and the streams dried up here, and you know, a lot of people were in a bit of strife in that they just didn't have any water. turns off to the left, goes up to the microwave repeater. Now, of course, that's the mouth of the Daintree River straight down below us there. If you look across to the right of the mouth of the Daintree, you can see the little point of land that sticks out into the sea, which is where Port Douglas is located. You should be able to see buildings on the waterfront there. The ridge goes down to Cape Kimberley, and then off the end of Cape Kimberley, you've got Snapper Island under this. I'll open the door in a second, you can get out and take photographs. Off the end of Cape Kimberley there, you can see Snapper Island. You're looking at the end of it though. You can see the low isles very clearly just underneath the horizon.
Trinity Bay.
Island, you can see about halfway between here and there is Struck Rock, and to the left of Struck Rock is Thornton's Beach, and that's where the bouncing stones are located. I can't let you out here for a photo because we're sort of blocking the road, eh? If you want to grab one through the window.
You'll feel all these very soft hairs on top. Can you feel this? Can you feel that hairs in the tree? They're the only palm tree that'll do it. And I quite often do night walks in the area, and I'll get off the boardwalk and I'll go wandering around through my research areas. And we've usually just come from the swimming holes. Everyone's still in their swimming gear. It's hot, and you get all sorts of fun reactions out of half-naked people brushing up against hairy things in the rainforest in the middle of the night. But this is what they would have brushed up against. That's this particular palm itself. Where it's little, it's quite pretty. All those palms in there, that's all wait a while in there before it starts climbing. And when it's little, it actually makes a very pretty indoor plant. But when it starts climbing, you tend to put the Frankenstein on it. If you like, yeah, come on up a bit further. The tree that they come off, I'll see if I can show you something there. The actual tree it comes off is a larger tree. It's one of the very valuable ones for the Aboriginals to poison waterholes with for their fishing. What they were particularly after were a series of drugs called alkaloids, which come out of the oil of the sea. And some of these alkaloids are very powerful muscle relaxants. The Aboriginals would collect up to 30 to 40 of these fruit, pound the fruit down into a still tidal pool or a quiet section of river or stream, and just the effect of these alkaloids going out in the water would cause what was ever in that pool of water to lose all control of their swimming muscles, and they'd flap around uselessly on top of the water for half an hour or so. Very good way of going about your fishing, particularly if you're as lazy as I am, but it does have a number of benefits. And one of them being is that it's very selective. In order for these drugs to work, they have to get into your blood system. And the only way they can do that in water is if you breathe water, which basically means you need gills. So it would only affect fish, eels, crayfish, things of that nature. Anything which breathed air, like turtles, we've got that right, tortoises, platypus, people, snakes in the water, anything like that at all, wouldn't be affected in the slightest because they can't absorb it through the skin of the blood system. So it's very selective. And like a lot of drugs coming out of rainforest, they're very unstable. They break down very quickly. So anything that the Aboriginals didn't want, things like breeding female fish, juvenile fish, inedible, they'd recover fully within half an hour and swim away quite happily. And it also made it perfectly safe to drink the water after that, or to eat whatever you caught that way as well. So it's a very good way of going about it. And just the problem being it is such an incredibly rare tree. And in fact, the Aboriginals in this area would use things like the fruit, bark, shoots, leaves of about 35 different types of plants to poison waterholes. This was definitely the preferred one. And the other problem as well is that they could only use fresh fruit. These disgusting things I've got here wouldn't do anything at all to a waterhole now. And the problem involved the Aboriginals scrambling up that tree, getting out to a thin branch, collecting fresh fruit down to a waterhole all within half an hour. And that's assuming they could find a tree to start off with. So it wasn't one of the common ones, but it's definitely the preferred one. And I think it's quite remarkable to consider that the Aboriginals have been in Australia longer, or in these rainforest areas at least, longer than Indians in North America, longer than Negroes in South Africa, longer than a lot of Southeast Asian tribes in those particular areas and through here. And the Aboriginals actually began smelting copper and tin 15,000 years before they started over in Europe. The Aboriginals gave up because they worked out that stone was a lot more plentiful rather than copper and tin. The Aboriginals could have had their Bronze Age 15,000 years before us, and it really makes you wonder what would have happened had they just continuing on with their bronze and ultimately into iron, which is very common in Australia. So something that not a lot of people think of. But their knowledge of drugs coming out of rainforest plants is the most detailed of any native groups of people in the world, including groups like the South Americans and the Southeast Asian Aboriginals and through those areas and the African ones as well. And as far as pharmaceutical people are concerned, there's a lot of pharmaceutical work going on in the area, and this particular one in here, this Eniandra, is the focus of a lot of pharmaceutical work at the moment. There's a lot of biological and chemical research going on in these areas. One good example. You guys go down in cardboard at the moment, but particularly they're after a nut, which comes out from inside the seed and through here. Break one of these open to show you. Don't break my fingers first. There we go. That's the nut that the Aboriginals were after inside through there. I've pretty well mangled this one, but when it does come out whole, it is very much like a large macadamia. It's very high in protein, very, very high in protein. And protein was a very scarce commodity as far as Aboriginals were concerned in the rainforest. And when they did find a plant containing protein, they went to a great deal of bother to ensure that they could make that plant a staple part of their diet. And that's exactly what yellow walnut was, just a part of their everyday eating, if you like. The tree is a very common tree. It fruits all year round, so there's always available food supply for them. Unfortunately, these actual kernels are also very poisonous. No more than half a dozen of these can give you gastroenteritis in a very, very bad way. Basically, you just become a hollow tube from one end to another, and we have had recordings of people dying from eating this stuff. They've just died through dehydration. They can't retain fluid in their body. But what's got us absolutely intrigued are a number of things. One of them is how the Aboriginals worked out the food value of this, how they actually worked out it contained protein. They wouldn't have called it protein, they would have had another name for it, but they knew that there's a definite food value associated with the nut. Secondly, what particular drugs were responsible for causing gastroenteritis, and then how to remove those drugs without destroying the food value of the seed. Very, very complicated process, but the Aboriginals essentially worked out that a specific combination of heat, they'd actually roast these kernels inside that nut first at very, very severe temperatures. They take out the kernel, pound it down into a crude type of paste or pulp, and just leave it in running water for anywhere up to 2 to 3 weeks. And it was quite a detailed process. I mean, I've sort of simplified it a lot. There's specific rates of flowing water and certain volumes of paste, and it had to be at exact consistency, so there's all sorts of bits and pieces. But it really does make you wonder how they managed just to sort it out. It's just all 50,000 years of just trial and error. And considering they didn't have a written history, it was all just passed down orally from mother to daughter, from mother to daughter. It's only the women that actually treated the plant itself. It is really quite a remarkable lifestyle. It also would have made you very wary about being guest of honour at their dinner table. Yeah, they had a habit of experimenting on people they didn't like, literally. But in this area, you're looking at about, the Aboriginals would use the fruit, leaves, bark, shoots of about 1,700 different types of plants as a food, of which dangerous drugs had to be taken out from at least a third of them. Different plants, different drugs, different treatments, so it really is quite complex. And we're only just sort of scratching the surface now of how they actually managed to work that out. There's a lot of knowledge there, and we really don't know much about it. Some legends running around as to why Aboriginals actually, why these trees have these buttress roots. And one of the most common myths, people have always assumed that because of the shapes of these roots, they're actually designed to hold trees up. But to destroy a myth very quickly, they don't. They're just too soft to be able to do that. In fact, if you've got a high pressure garden hose, put it up against certain types of these actual buttress roots, you'll see water coming out the other side. That's how soft some of them are. And we have known for a very long period of time that just as many trees with buttress roots fall down during cyclones as trees without buttress roots. So there's no real physical advantage. But what we have sorted out that these roots are very useful for is for gathering extra nutrients. All the nutrients in a rainforest are just contained in that top 5 to 6 inches of soil, 10 to 15 centimetres, so very, very shallow. And buttress roots are a very effective way for trees which need a lot of nutrients to put roots out over the surface rather than going straight down like that. And in fact, you'll tend to find that most of our rainforest trees don't have roots that go deeper than 15, 18 inches, 40, 50 centimetres at the most. Very, very shallow. And as you go up to Cape Tribulation today, we had Cyclone Joy come through here around Christmas time. And you'll see that there's quite a lot of trees that were uprooted. And you can see how very, very shallow the root systems were. And these roots wouldn't actually stop at all. They're just designed to go after nutrients. Actually, pencil cedar is a good example to show you this, because when you come on down here, you can have a look inside the tree and you can actually see the trunk of the tree still goes down inside there. If you have a look at the wood that makes up the buttress root, you'll see the wood that makes up the root there is very different from the wood that actually makes up the single root there itself. And that's very, very soft. Very, very soft. It's so soft that if you get some really large roots during the day and you can shape them, it sounds a bit like wild parrots and water wart, so they're not familiar with wild parrots. It's very, very soft. They won't really do that much with holding trees up. It's just one of those things that you just can't say, because it's a big tree, it's an old tree. It just doesn't work in rainforest. And actually the oldest tree that we've aged in North Queensland is a tree called the McIntyre's boxwood. It's about 4,500 years old, so it is a really venerable old tree, even though it's still not in the top 10 of the world. And it would very happily fit, say, in this small gap between me and the boardwalk. It would be less than 4 feet across, 1.5 metres across, and be no taller than the rest of the forestry here as well. A really nondescript tree, and it's just one of those things about rainforest trees. Actually, in a couple of minutes' time, when you're going down the road, Paul will go past the Cow Bay airstrip, international airport there, and on the other side of the airstrip there are stumps of McIntyre's boxwood, exactly the same type of tree, which are over 9 feet across. We're not saying that because they're twice the size, they're twice the age, that'll put them up around 8,000 years old, which would be really incredible. But it's one of the things that we have worked out about rainforest trees is that as long as they get enough light, enough nutrients, water, they can just keep on growing ad nauseum. There's no age limit on a lot of rainforest trees. And the only thing that kills off rainforest trees is usually they get to a stage where they need so much nutrient that they're in direct competition with other plants then. And when they start competing to that extent, they themselves get weaker and then all the bugs move in. And that's basically about the only thing that kills rainforest trees itself. But apart from that, as long as they get enough conditions, they can just keep on going. There's no real limit to them.
As Andrew just told us, this skinny little tree right here is 210 years old, as opposed to this thick one, which is about 100 some years old.
But it also just points out one of the nightmares about this area, and that's just how very, very little we actually know about plant life in this area. This one we only identified about 3 years ago. But on this section of boardwalk along here now, just to give you a bit of an idea of my personal nightmare, you will have passed about 147 different types of trees. That's things about that size and larger, which is more than the entire tree flora of Europe or of North America in the space of 300 metres around through here. North America has about 113 different types of trees, and Europe has about 97 or 98 thereabouts. So there's more just trees here than there is in both those continents. And you could still put your hand on anything you like just on the boardwalk. I'd have a 1 in chance not to be able to tell you what it is. We still don't know at least 10% of the plant life on the lowland areas through here. And just remember, as you're on your way up to Cape Tribulation today, you're just going through that easternmost fringe of the Daintree. Just less than 1% of the Daintree is what you're actually seeing. 99% of the Daintree is all those mountains, tablelands, escarpments. It's all those real wilderness areas you see on the left as you go up towards Cape Trib. And that's 2 or 3 weeks with a backpack on and go through. And we don't know, probably close to a third of all the plant life up there. And no one's ever lived up there long enough to tell us what sort of animals are still up there. And in fact, we know less about the tableland and upland areas of the Daintree and those rainforests through there than we do about rainforests of Southeast Asia or Central Africa. which is really quite amazing. We just know next to nothing compared with those two areas. But considering it's our own back door, it's sort of a bit embarrassing to admit we know less about that than we do about another country's back door. So it's this big tree that's coming up on your right here. Anyone feels very lucky with Latin, and you've got about 6 years to spend, and very good at cutting through red tape. You can name that tree if you like. It's got absolutely no formal Latin descriptions or names yet. It's not what you call an insignificant little tree either. It's quite a decent tree, and it's just one that we totally have absolutely no idea of at the moment. One of those ones.
top of the cabinet there, and those batteries are there purely to provide a light at night time. That's the only thing the solar cells are there for, nothing to do actually with the communication of that particular telephone box. But there is no electrical power up here, right? And if you went down that Cow Bay Road about 2 kilometres down there, on the right hand side of the road there is the local exchange, and the exchange has this incredible area of solar panels outside of it. And I must say that Telecom really deserve a real pat on the back. They get an awful lot of brickbats in Australia in recent times. A lot of people living in the major cities of Australia consider they're making far too much money. But in actual fact, if they weren't making that much money, people up here wouldn't even have a telephone. That's about what it amounts to. And Telecom in the recent times have provided telephones to everybody out in inland Australia. A remarkable job they've done. But up here, very environmentally conscious, responsible way of doing things too. Sure enough, through places like this, they've just buried the cable in the ground using a bulldozer to bury it in the ground with a mole plough. But when they have the line crossing through rainforest areas, obviously if they tried to bury it in the ground with a bulldozer, it would do incredible damage to the forest as they went through. What they use in the rainforest areas is armoured cable, and they lay it on top of the ground. Absolutely no disturbance to the rainforest at all. And if you heard earlier on how a lot of families have come up here and then moved away again, well, there are exceptions to that, of course. And the major exception to that was the Mason family. The Masons initially arrived here, this block of land, and in the top of the tank there's an extractor fan. So it just sucks the cut leaf through the ducting into the tank. Simple matter then to empty it out into a trailer. On the right hand side those are new tea hedges. See along the rows there, a few gaps in them. Tea takes a long time to germinate. You plant it using seed and it does take quite a while to germinate. So it's a long time before you find out whether you've got any gaps in your hedges or not. These are the seed bushes here on the left. Tea is actually a camellia, and Camellia sinensis in fact is its proper name. Flowers. Figs don't have a flower like we know flowers to be. Inside of those little green balls there are all the sex parts of the flower facing inwards, and you can see on each one of those fruits there's a little black dot, and the little black dot that you can see there is actually a microscopic opening into the interior of the fruit. And figs have a symbiotic relationship with insects to fertilise them, and usually the insect that gets involved with a fig is one that's commonly known as a fig wasp. Vehicles, because when the water's roaring across these causeways, we're the only ones who can usually make it up to Cape Tribulation. Beautiful crystal clear water, as you can see. You can drink that, no worries at all. You could drink that. Quite often see people swimming in these rivers. There's absolutely no reason why there shouldn't be crocodiles in them. They're quite close to the sea here, and in fact you'll see just how close shortly down the road. So you need to watch out for crocodiles. It's so crystal. It's almost pure silica sand, and the Mitsubishi Corporation of Japan do have a major extraction operation going there, freighting there's millions of tons of it over to Japan to make silica chips. The bouncing ability, what you do, go down the track here and to the beach and just pick up some of the smaller chunks of stone on the rock and just throw them down quite gently onto the larger chunks of the same sort of rock down there, and in lots of cases you will be absolutely amazed the way they bounce around. Now be careful, alright, you're throwing stones around, so be aware of everybody around you. You know, we don't want anybody to get bashed on the head with a stone, do we? So, I mean, say, don't go standing down in front of people who are throwing stones. All right. So we'll have a few minutes here. just made out of logs. Put across it. Beautiful crystal clear water. There's that tree that cuts the skyline. Can you see that? Sort of just a little strip of white. That's Undine Reef, that one. That's Undine Reef. There's Mackay Reef, you can see it now, look. See, it's the same sort of thing, just a little patch of white just below the horizon, or just right on the horizon there. But you really got to watch out for them. In fact, on high tides, when it's a high tide, you can't see them out there because most of the sand disappears underwater. And they are both unvegetated sand cays.
Cape Tribulation. Paul says only spot you can film.
Waterfront out into the ocean, and those are called fringing reefs. They fringe the mainland.
Muffin, Muffin. Love you, Muffin. Miss you too. Wish you could be here. We're at Coconut Beach Resort in the rainforest. Go get some lunch. Here we are at the beach of Coconut Resort in the rainforest. Quite a pretty place, huh? I'll try to see. I think I've got yeah, about 49 minutes taped, about an hour and 6 minutes left. Maybe I'll be able to send this to you, Muffin, here shortly. This goes back up to the resort, and you can see the roof of it a little bit. They call this where the rainforest meets the reef. The reef starts right out here on the shore. I think you can even see a little bit. Tomorrow I should be scuba diving, and possibly Tuesday scuba diving, and then Wednesday up to Coranda with the train, and then Wednesday night, of course, fly to Perth.
Where I told you about the old cedar cutters, the red cedar. Red cedar was the most valuable timber there was in the rainforest areas. And in the spring, or early summer, I mean, we don't have 4 seasons of the year. We tend to use the term spring, autumn, summer, winter, etc. But in actual fact, in the tropics, you don't have that. We only have 2 seasons: a wet season and a dry season. But in early summer, the cedar tree, it's actually a deciduous tree. So in the cooler months of the year, it actually drops its leaves just for a short time, and then it puts on new growth. And the new growth on a cedar tree is the most beautiful, delicate shade of pink. And the old timers, the old cedar cutters, they'd be in a place like this. They'd look up on the hillside at the right time of the year, and they say, "There's a cedar, there's a cedar, there's a cedar," and they'd set off up the hillside and go and get these trees. So they're spotting where they were. Or committee have not been up here to inspect this road as it goes on further, and there is a chance that they will in fact close it. And if that happens, well, there's an awful lot of tour operators use this. They're going to be a bit difficult, hard pressed to find a way. I don't think they, personally, I don't think they will close it. It's been in existence now for 6 years. This is the 7th year that this road's been open up to Bloomfield. And like I say, a lot of people use it. The Aborigines up on the Bloomfield River, there's a settlement up there. They use it to come down to Mossman and Cairns for shopping. And it only takes them about an hour and a half to get to Mossman and about a couple of hours to Cairns. Whereas before, to go the other way around, it used to take about 5 or 6 hours. A particular plant is a native, and it's called native potato vine. Potato vine simply because it looks rather like a sweet potato plant. So it gets transported by the passage of vehicles, etc. And in the mature rainforest, you don't see it simply because it doesn't get a foothold. But as soon as the rainforest is degraded or damaged in any way, and the sunshine gets let in, like they do with building a road, this stuff just takes off, and it will actually kill these trees. It just shades them out and kills them off. And it's sometimes called the tombstone vine because when a tree has been killed and it's totally draped in the native potato vine there, it's just like a big vertical column rather like a headstone, or a memorial in a cemetery. So not a very nice thing at all, and that is one of the results of damaging the rainforest. Lots of it through here too. It's amazing how it's spread actually from the Daintree River up here following the road. You just walk fast. Walk fast.
Right, don't stop. That's a good way. Only one. I got thousands of them.
でも日本の方がすごい蚊が多いですけど、ものすごいそうですから。
Well, maybe this Oscar right. But I wear just a blue one. This one game.
Cruising along Cape Tribulation here. In the rainforest. There's a guide up front, Paul. Cape Tribulation. Guess I'm not narrating much here for you. It's Cape Tribulation Beach here.
And that's the case with a few reefs along this coastline, and the reason it's dead is because sea levels have dropped. In the last couple of thousand years, sea levels have dropped by around about a foot or so, sort of, around about 250, 300 millimetres. And that's been enough for the reef to get exposed for long periods of time as the tides drop. And so, of course, it's built by a marine animal, the polyp, and so it dies. See, normally reef only ever grows to within a few centimetres of the normal low tide. And the only time the top of a reef normally gets exposed is on the very lowest tides of the year. And even then it's only for a very brief period. So if sea levels drop at all and the reef starts to get exposed for longer and longer periods, well then the animals die. And because we don't have any big waves crashing in on the coast here, it's very sheltered in behind the reef, the limestone exoskeleton of the reef remains where it is. It just gets covered in all that algae and weeds and stuff. It looks pretty messy, but that's what that is. That's dead coral reef out there. Interesting thing is about all this, is that scientists around the world are predicting a great raising of sea levels generally, with the greenhouse effect set to warm the world's oceans, and an expansion of that water causing a rise in sea levels. And if that does happen, well, we are about to witness an enormous period of reef activity, reef construction, because as sea levels rise, so the reef will start to build up higher and higher, keeping up with it as it goes.
There goes our bus through a creek. Swimming crocodiles.
get a good close look at it. As a matter of fact, you can have a very close look when you get back to our reception area. We have some young ones that were amazing here. Preparing to show actually tomorrow. And you can have a hands-on look at them if you like. They're quite tame. But there is a school of thought that says that these are distant primate relatives. They have certainly have a lot of these are all mostly big males. It's a very strange reaction sometimes when you mention bats or flying foxes. A lot of people don't like them all that much. Particularly if you have a few fruit trees, or maybe they've gotten into your fruit trees, or maybe they camp near your house, and you hear people complain about their smell. But it's actually
Say hard.
crocodiles are also predators of those flying
Stay
foxes.
straight up there.
Oh yeah.
Now, if any of you want to see the crocodile, the one that I saw on the way down here was lying just over on the right here. So you might just check on the bank just up here and see if you can spot that crocodile. Beside us here on the right. Look up high on the bank right here on the right to see if there's a crocodile. Look it up way down. You may not.
Oh yeah.
Where?
See it?
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Use the binoculars because otherwise you won't have near as good a chance of seeing it.
can't see
Where
his
is
head
he?
back.
You can see his head. That's what you're looking at, love. Right, you walk back here and let me show you where he is.
ど真ん中ほら。あ
There's
れ
a
あれ。
crocodile.
土手の上ほら今縞模様が見えてるじゃないですか。あれあれ。
Crocodiles are wild as well. It should be. It's a bad
こっちですよ。
people and food. And the Daintree River.
木村さんこっちよこっち。
They don't need any help at all.
こっちよ。この方角よほら今顔が土手の上にいるじゃないですか。その正面。
Just a smaller, sexually mature female that is nesting in this area just behind you. You can see its head.
That's touring saltwater crocodile.
Now you can also see the eagle really well if you look up here on this branch just overhead.
White crested sea eagle.
見えました。どうぞ。今足を見てください。
It's on your device.
Did you see this? Eh?
これを女性か
Now
な
I don't know whether that's a male or female. The other part of the pair is back out behind it about 100 meters. And I haven't seen the baby today, but I've been seeing the baby down here for the last, over about the last 10 days. And they've been given lots of instruction on how to catch flying foxes. Back in the days when it was known as the Goulet to the local aboriginals, this island was a peninsula attached to the bank back over here behind us. And during a fairly major flood a couple hundred years ago, the river in its rush to get down to the ocean, rather than flow around through what was then the main river course, is now a small tributary, you see, it cut a new channel, which is today's present river course. This morning on high tide, the water was up very near the top of the bank over there in the cleared area. That's a cattle grazing property. So it doesn't take a lot of imagination to do this problem as well. But these crabs are busily engaged in recycling the organic fallout from these plants, leaf, bark, and flower. And they're also the main food item in the diet of baby crocodiles. That's mainly what they feed on. The very brightly colored one you see are the male fiddler crab, that large cheliped or claw, is his territorial signaling apparatus. Right, look on this log over here. There's a few crabs crawling around on that of a different type. You might just see dark blue, black, shiny crabs. And if you look at them closely, you can see they're steadily jamming food in their mouth. And that's what all these little crabs are doing. capable of having 100 or more meters of that cane in one plant, and it's often used to make furniture, baskets, things like that. So it's quite a useful bulb. The thorny, long, whip-like appendages that grow out of the top of the climbing palm called flagella, or how that plant gets itself up into the top of the trees. Very capable plant. Now the mangroves belong on it in Malaysia, particularly Indonesia, where it's known as Kemari or Kemari. Now if you go down through this creek, you can still off the bank under the bushes. Watch carefully. We often see crocodiles in here, usually smaller ones. And I saw a couple in here earlier, so I'd say there's a reasonable chance we might spot one. That's a puppy. And he's doing really well.
Oh.
Does he always stay there?
No, he moves around a bit. He might be. They'll eat insects. They love insects. Anything's a potential source of protein. But crabs would be the main thing that he catches. Very healthy. Doing really well. But what you're looking at there is nature's original solar energy machine. Those bony scales on their back called osteoderms are what they use to adjust their temperature with, usually to bring it up. In the wintertime, particularly when the water's cold, they get out on the bank and they'll lie in the same spot sometimes for the whole day. And they'll do that. He'll do that right throughout his life, bask in the sun. But right now it's a lot more comfortable for him to lie partially in the water, in that wet mud, with just a little bit of sun. In this overcast, he's still absorbing heat. If they get too hot, the first thing you'll see them do is open their mouth to try and ventilate a little bit of air around the head area particularly. And if they continue getting too warm, they'll go in the water, cool off, and get their scalp possible. But interesting reptiles. Well, they're aquatic creatures, but they're far more active at night than they are in the daytime. And like coming out at night, this time of year particularly. Now right now, we've just gone through the mating season, which here is mainly December, well, late November through December. The nesting season generally coincides with full moon in January. And that flew away right over the nest. And it got the nest wet along with the eggs, and the birds left the nest. And they were gone for about 4 hours. And I thought, oh, that'll probably finish it. But one egg hatched. Yeah.
Still baby is inside.
Pardon me?
Still baby is
The
inside.
little baby is inside. You can see.
Oh yeah. Smile here.
Yeah, the male is there now.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Isn't he
right.
beautiful?
Yeah,
Just bluey so black.
yeah.
Oh, that's it.
And that little baby's got its head up there looking at his up and dud saying, come on, where's the food? Days and don't see it at all.
Go and say good day.
G'day guys. How you going?
Oh, it's two of them.
Oh, it's twin. Two of them.
I'm just stirring in. Turn the fan down. The reason I have those things down is that blind the fan. One.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to hold him and have their photo taken? Just one of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd like to? We'll wait.
カメラはもう完全に制覇しましたね。 こうやって見ると可愛いじゃないですかね。ほら首だけだったらさっきの犬と同じ顔してるじゃないですか。抱くするんだと。
犬とね、犬なりたい、なりたい。
あ、食べてるかな。可愛い。
座りたい。
I don't know, 6 months ago, I suppose, something like that, and she inherited all the millions. Down the bottom.
Lots and lots of sugar cane. What do you think looks like white? Reminds me a lot of that small sugar cane.
Yeah.
Looking at those houses, not quite Beverly Hills, eh? Then they don't have near the smog problem LA has either. Great fish. A little sinus in your chest. Still trying to shake it, hoping to go down. There's a yield sign. Local disco into the world. Kind of self-explanatory. Parking in the center of the street. Of course, the pharmacist is a chemist. Looking for the post office. This may be it. I'll go find out here. I was wrong. This is court. I don't want to get in that building. Hopefully we're not going to go to court. The wharf. And here's the Cairns Hilton. Here's where Dad would be staying, I imagine, if he came. Met two Japanese girls today that were staying there, obviously. Japanese. It's a pier. Maybe where I need to go eat. I'm about to starve. Haven't eaten since lunch. Place called Governor's Way in the shopping mall. Called the Pier Marketplace. Inside the mall, they've got a display of reptiles. This is a freshwater crocodile, number 2 in Australia, according to the display. There's a large python. There's the airport. Local club. The place I was just in, Radisson Hotels in there. This is Esplanade, like Main Street in town. I'm just one block up. just went diving today. Just got back from Tusa dive, did 2 dives. Now I'm back right in front of the hotel here. Let her walk down and show you the frontage here on the waterfront. This is Esplanade is the name of this road. Hotel here is on Applin and Esplanade right on the corner here. As you can see, it's probably may not be able to see it right now. Zoom in there. It's low tide right now. Kind of muddy. Walk up here, look at all the statue over the waterfront. Hi. Actually, with a couple of cannons. This is apparent. Off to the right. Must be a Cairns landmark. Not exactly sure what this is for, what it depicts. Possibly soldiers that died, that sort of thing. Oh, that's the pier over there. The Tusa boat that we left on is right behind that. Come back around here. It's a cannon. Cannon number 1. Another one on the other side. Muddy and nasty out there. Greater love hath no man than this. People's names up there. Must be their name liveth forevermore. Must be folks that died in the war. On 21st April 1972, a time capsule was placed beneath this point to commemorate the removal of the genotaph to this location. Capsule contains Cairns City Council and Return Services League records. Guess I should remove date and time here, huh? To the sacred memory of those who enlisted from Cairns and made the supreme sacrifice in the Great War. 1914, moments pass, but ne'er shall die. The memory of our honored dead. Marching with a duty led not immortality. Those names of people who paid the price for asking for the land below. The beacon fires to all who move on lowlier ways of sacrifice. So yes, as a war memorial. I'll sleep the brave who sing to rest, bow the country's best wishes best. Bust. Can't read. There's the other cannon. This one actually has rubber tires, huh? Charge 1, charge 2, charge 3. It's been how they aimed it. 20-pound shot. Cone range scale. Interesting. Well, I guess now I'm gonna go try to find a post office. Cairns Aquarius. Right there. Let me see where I'm staying. Right through there in the lines. So I found to find the post office now. Have a look at everything. Cairns Airport is not far, it's about 5 minutes away. Only 100,000 people live here. And head to the post office now. So, later. Like an amphitheater here for people playing music and that sort of thing. Obviously, we're going playing there currently. Chemist and got me something for my cold. Hopefully take care of my chest cold and cough, sore throat, and sinus condition. Terrible. Long vacation had it still with me. It's second full day.
Australia, Japan, Canada and Russia. These cane farms are divided into 5 parts. 1/5 will be at rest railway was built to service the people on the table of the line. Looking out to the horizon, to the right is a small coral cave of Green Island.
That's alright. There was a drink
Small
right now.
mountain range to the right of Green Island is the Whitfield Range, and the city of Cairns is situated on the opposite side of Mount Whitfield. Just below us is a small township we passed through earlier, Rednich. You'll see the red boot of the Red Parade.
Would you like to?
Champagne.
Following the tree line as it meanders its way through the patchwork of cane fields, they head towards the mighty Barrow River. We'll be following the Barrow River once we enter the Barrow River.
Isn't that lovely?
So give me the bottle?
Cheers.
Cheers.
Across to the right are 2 landmarks. On the right-hand side, looking back, you may be able to photograph a train passing over the bridge with the falls in the background.
Gisela, give me your camera. Quick, set it up. Sorry.
Thank you.
Around the corner. Should be able to get another one. That's okay.
Did you take a picture?
Oh, no. I was trying to see how they you that picture too. Okay. Oh, that's nice. Here. But no, that's okay. Too much. Once I have, I get copies and you don't have.
Jag screw it each in.
You can see it.
Water is trapped. It still performs well in the good wet season though.
Snack. That's nice.
Niagara Falls.
Back, I will be at the top of the station stairs when we arrive at Cranley, and I will return. That's the Olympus Water Creek Temple Place. When we arrive at Miranda, we are told to explore the variety of attractions, which include the Jackadaw Aboriginal Dance Theatre, PLC Customs and the world's oldest sculpture, the Australian Butterfly Sanctuary, which is the world's largest butterfly and fly aviary, to be built from concrete. It was built to open in 1922 are famous in their own right, as they offer excellent sandwiches made from fresh local produce, branded cookies, and a variety of cakes and spices. This will take daily in station. Tea and coffee are available at Leanne, Coco, Trevor and myself. Bid you farewell. We hope you have a very pleasant afternoon.
Do it for you, Corinda.
Filament will exchange foreign currency for you. And there's an octarium just up there on your left. Well, but the only thing you'd have time to have a look at, Miranda in, that's arts and crafts. See on the right, arts and crafts. Miranda. old trees. They haven't got any bark. A bit early, folks, I know. Long, hard, wet day. For a tailor-made cigarette, there are no additives. If you put an additive in a tailor-made cigarette, stain the papers. A lot of chimneys in them. Small chimneys. On your right over here. There. That's an oil burning tobacco barn. Now over the years they've used you come to Mariba, something is flowering. Like on your left here, there's some Kellyandras, the pink powder puffs. Here's cannas, the yellow ones. Elamanders, the yellow vine there, that's the elamander. And up here on your right, this tree with an odd yellow flower on it, a lot of coppery looking leaves is called a copperpod. Sometimes called the yellow poinciana, but it's not the Dictydie poinciana, that's the locality name really. We're dropping onto the Barron River. The water in the river here is on its way to the first underground power station built in Queensland in 1935. And that's the Barron River. Now we're coming into, now just ahead on our left there's red flowers on the trees here. It's the bottle brush, native of the area. See those grow along rivers and creeks. On your left here we've got two unusual shaped buildings. They are the old gold assay offices. They're just storerooms now for the government office and grubs. And the possums and flying foxes, well, we have what's left. Built like that for coolness, and as I said here before, the pink flowers on the vine here, on your right. And over there, that's the coral vine. Well, folks, Mariba, they have a rodeo. It's held in early July each year. They had 300 competitors and a record attendance of 17,000. It's about, Rocky Point is just north of Mossman, about 50 kilometres northeast of here, so it was very close. But things they are. A little further up here on your right, we have some unusual shaped hedges. I'd like you to just take a bit of...
Topiary, I think it's called.
Well, folks, the Mariba Shire was formed in December, and the propeller is a Hamilton variable pitch, constant speed prop off a B-17 Flying Fortress, which was used extensively during World War II. There it is in there. And that's Chiligo marble. Eh? Now, does anyone want to take a photo of that from outside? It's raining. If you do, just say so and we'll open the door. But if not, well, we'll just push on. Nice gardens here. Usually they get a good show, but of course owing to the wet. On your left there, that's an old custard apple tree losing its leaves, and these are bowen mango trees just down here. On your right, bananas and a tropical peach tree. Tropical peach down there. Got some fruit on it too, actually. More roses here. Very nice roses. I don't know whether we can get out here or not. I forgot to see if that truck was over the road. We just back, no problems at all.
Do you know in Kuranda, where the market is, what's the...
If you live on that side of the street here, you've got the law on your side. Ambulance station on your right. First ambulance station over there. 1906 a sub-branch of Cairns. 1909 they opened their own office. Well, folks, we're going to make our way back around to the mill barn. That's the restaurant that I gave you the menus for. Just get this thing in the line a bit.
A lot of kids playing there. It's like some kind of church with possibly, oops, sorry. It's some school back there. So you can see local time here is about 1 p.m. At home that would be 9 p.m. last night. This is in the town of Atherton. Just got through eating lunch. We have a bus here. Ate lunch at the mill barn. These little hills here, he said, are called the Seven Sisters. Although he said there's 9 of them.
Over the Australian Illawarra Shorthorn cow. They are good milkers, there's no doubt about that, but the male can be used for beef and working bullocks. There's some of the herd on our right there. Male, and it brings up a sore on the hide. These sores leave scars. When the animal is slaughtered, the hide is taken to be tanned, they find the scar. The only way to get rid of that is stretching. We're not troubled with stingers as we are on the coast. When you speak of stingers, I mean the box jellyfish. A sting from one of those can be fatal, and there are no crocodiles. Quite a number of students come to the area on camp and on excursions. You got these in your car. He said, and I asked you to take them out to the reptile park, so he said, what's going on today? Well, he said, I'm going to the beach. Quite a number of those men ended up on the Siam Railway. The 7th and 9th Divisions were camped in this immediate area. On the right we have 2. Driving onto the Barron River now. The water in the river here is on its way down to Coranda. The places like Walkerman, Mareeba and Coranda get the water from the river. As we cross the bridge, if you look up to your right, you'll be looking up onto the spillway. To your right here, folks, you'll see the water coming over the spillway. Well, you may have noticed too how quickly this soil is changing. Not far back there, that beautiful volcanic soils in the back legs, and then become staggering. It also produces a small nut. These nuts are poisonous. Australian Aborigines ate them, they sliced them or ground them and put them in running water, left them there for time, took them out and ate them that way. And 3.7 metres deep. It's 45.1 metres from the bed of the river to the crest of the spillway. You smell a bit of a stink. That's water. Go up here, or will they? It's just a bit of grass around. Bit of grass. Sorry about that. Well, on your right over here, we've got the river outlet. It's pouring water out of a 1.5 metre pipe there, and that's what's causing all the stink. That's dead water, stagnant water. And they spray it to put oxygen back in it. Engineers tell us if that water was to run down the river, it would kill the fish. So they spray it, puts the oxygen back into it, and it's okay. The river outlet is open, of course, all through the dry to feed the river, but once it rains, there's enough runoff from around the surrounding countryside, they close it until the dam